As a retail pharmacist, I often get told by my friends and family how intimidating, difficult, and downright frustrating retail pharmacies can be. So I decided to make a quick guide on how to make your pharmacy experience as seamless and as painless as possible with just 5 easy steps. Okay, so tip number 1 is the most important one on the list, and that is actually finding a good pharmacy. Pharmacies vary a lot from store to store, even within the same retail chain. And so finding one that is actually good, quick, efficient, and cares about its customers and patients is really going to be the difference maker in your pharmacy experience as a whole. So, how do you find a good pharmacy or the best pharmacy in your area? Well, I wouldn't recommend going by online reviews. There's a lot of Google and Yelp reviews out there, and they really aren't that accurate. They're not a good representation of how good the pharmacy is. I would recommend either A, going by word of mouth, or B, scouting out to see if the pharmacies are good yourself. When it comes to scouting out a good pharmacy, there's really 3 methods that you can do to test these pharmacies and see if they're worth your time. And the first thing to do is simply fill a prescription there. See how quick and efficient they are, see if people are running around like headless chickens, see if they look organized, that sort of thing. And if everything goes well, it might just be a good pharmacy. The second thing you can do to test these pharmacies is while you're there, ask for the pharmacist to ask a question. And this could be any question, but really what you're looking for is to see how quickly the pharmacist is able to come over to help you, and if the pharmacist is able to answer your question effectively and in a way that you can understand. And this will, if you're at there at a good time of day, like you're going to see a pharmacist that's probably usually there, you want to know that there's someone that you can trust and go to with any questions that you may have. Now, the last thing you can do is after you get the prescription filled, you've asked the pharmacist a question and they've done good so far, you can go home and give them a call and just see, do they take a half an hour to answer? Do you get, a rude answer when they finally do call, or do they answer right away and are really nice and respectful? Those are the 3 things that you really want to look for when scouting out to make sure that this pharmacy is a place that you want to use in the future. Okay, so you found a pharmacy that passed your scouting report. Now go ahead and transfer your prescriptions over there, tell your doctor to send your new prescriptions there, and your life just might get a little bit easier. Tip number 2 goes hand in hand with tip number 1, and that now that you have this well-run pharmacy where the staff is easily accessible, you can speak with the pharmacist whenever you need to. Tip number 2 is just to ask questions. Ask questions all throughout your prescription process. Make sure that your co-pays are accurate, your insurance is being billed correctly, and ask any questions about your medications, how to take them, and if you have any drug interactions to be worried about. This way you can stay on top of your medications and on top of your insurance and on top of your health in general. It's just going to improve your experience overall. Tip number 2 is just to ask questions, and don't be afraid to ask questions either. As a pharmacist, I get strange questions all day long. There's nothing you can ask that'll surprise me. So go ahead and ask. It's always better to be safer than sorry when it comes to your medications. Tip number 3 is to actually use your pharmacy's app if they have one. These apps can be really useful. You can call in new prescriptions, see which ones are ready. If you have new insurance, you can take a picture of it and send it to the pharmacy, saving you a lot of time. They may have the occasional glitches and hiccup, but in general, my patients that use their pharmacy apps regularly are way more on top of their medications than people who don't. And if you don't have a smartphone, just give them a call. Calling pharmacies ahead of time to see if your prescriptions are ready, how much they cost, is so much better than wasting a trip down there to see that there's some issue with your medications. I always recommend calling to make sure everything's okay with your medications before coming down to pick them up. It can save you a lot of time. Tip number 4 is to stay on top of your refills. And what that means is knowing how many refills that the doctor wrote for you, and also knowing when your prescription expires. You should know that most prescriptions expire 1 year from the date that the doctor wrote on the prescription, and most controlled medications, like let's say Xanax, expire 6 months from that date. I couldn't tell you how often we get patients and they're out of their medication and their prescription is expired or out of refills, and it's the weekend and the doctor's office is closed. A lot of pharmacists will give them a bridged emergency supply until the office is open, but many of them won't. And so to avoid this situation entirely, you need to stay on top of your refills and know when your prescriptions are going to expire. It's also important to know how your doctor's office prefers to receive refill requests. Some of them prefer to get requests from the pharmacy. Some of them want you to call their voicemail line. Many of them will only accept refill requests during their regular office hours. So make sure you ask them or give them a call just to make sure you know how they accept refill requests before an emergency comes up. All right, the last and final tip number 5, is how to save money on your medications. Now, I'm going to be releasing a full video about this in the future because there's a lot here. But for now, here's just a quick summary of the easiest ways you can possibly save money. The first thing you can do to try to save money on your prescription medications is just knowing your insurance. A lot of insurances prefer 30-day supplies, and some of them will be cheaper if you fill 90-day supplies on your medications. And some of them will be a lot cheaper if you use mail-order pharmacies instead of retail stores. Knowing your insurance policy about prescription medications and reading through their information pamphlet can save you a lot of money. Secondly, try searching your prescription medications, especially the expensive ones, in GoodRx.com. GoodRx.com is actually really good and better than insurance in a lot of cases. And you can see when you go in there, different pharmacies have different prices under GoodRx too. So you could even switch certain prescriptions and fill them at other pharmacies just for that sweet GoodRx discount price. And besides GoodRx, there's a lot of other discount cards out there. Now, in my experience, GoodRx is usually the best discount you can get. But most pharmacies have their own version of discount cards you can try, and they have discount card searches that they can use. So don't be afraid to ask them to compare your insurance to GoodRx to their own coupons just to see which one is the cheapest. And this could add up and save you a lot of money over time. All right, so those are my 5 tips about how to make your pharmacy experience a little easier. I hope I was able to help some of you. Feel free to let me know what you think of the video and give me any questions that you may have. I'd be happy to answer them. And so, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Really quick, if you did find this video helpful, feel free to give it a like. It helps out a lot. This is a brand new channel, so I would really appreciate it.